Hello everyone, this is part 11 on how to make a shoot 'em up game in Scratch. In this tutorial, I will be adding the second attack pattern for the enemy boss, and I will make the enemy boss actually appear in the game, because right now the boss doesn't show up. But anyways, let's get started. So first off, in the last video, we made the first enemy boss attack, and if I click this broadcast spawn boss block, then as you can see, the boss appears from the top of the screen and moves from side to side while shooting lasers and spikes. And currently the boss does this attack forever. However, I want to add a second attack for the boss and make it switch between the first and second attack. And for the second attack, I want these two enemy planes right here to spawn from the top of the screen while the boss continues moving from side to side, but I'm also going to have the boss suddenly swoop down from time to time. So to do that, let's first go to our enemy boss plane sprite. And currently, as you can see, we have a message for the boss attack 1. However, we want to broadcast a new message for the boss attack 2. So I believe the best place to switch from the first attack to the second attack is actually in the boss laser sprite. And over here, when the laser is doing the show and fire block, I am going to replace this forever loop with a repeat loop and then broadcast the second boss attack after it finishes the repeat loop. And by the way, the reason I'm choosing to broadcast the second attack of the boss from the lasers rather than like the boss itself or the boss spikes is because the laser firing animation is the largest loop of the entire first boss attack. So it would look the most smooth when switching to the boss attack number 2. But anyways, I'm going to take out this forever loop and then let's go to control and I'm going to add a repeat loop. And I'm going to say maybe something like repeat 4 times. So the enemy boss is going to shoot out its lasers 4 times, and then after that, let's go to events, and then drag a broadcast block. And then I'm going to change this to broadcast and then new message, boss. I'm just going to call it boss attack 2. Alright. And now what happens is that the boss is going to actually do its second attack after firing its lasers 4 times in the first attack. And I think I'm going to also add a wait 1 second right before the broadcast boss attack 2, just to have a bit of a delay. And now that should be fine. But now we have to make sure that the lasers don't fire and the boss spikes stop spawning when the boss does its second attack, because the lasers and the spikes are only for the first attack. So inside of this laser sprite, I'm just going to drag a when and receive and then boss attack 2. Then I'm going to go to control and then drag a stop other scripts in sprite and then also delete this clone. So we want to make sure that no scripts in the laser sprite are running and that all of the laser clones are deleted. So that should be fine. And for the boss spike, let's see. So for the boss spike, we can't do the same thing that we did in the boss laser, which was stop other scripts in sprite and then delete this clone, because we don't want the spikes to immediately delete themselves when the boss switches to the second attack. Instead, we just want the spikes to stop spawning. So in order to make the spikes stop, I'm going to go to variables and then create a new variable. And I'm just going to call this something like can boss shoot. Alright, click OK. And before the enemy boss switches to attack 2, and also before the delay, I'm going to set can boss shoot to yes. Or actually no, sorry. We don't want the boss to shoot after switching to attack 2. And then inside of the spike sprite, I am going to go to control and then drag an if. And this is going to be around the spawn bullet block. And then I'm going to go to operators, grab an equals operator, and then check if can boss shoot is equal to yes. And then of course we want to go to our enemy boss sprite, and then under when I receive boss attack 1, then we're going to have to set can boss shoot to yes. Alright, so now the enemy boss should only fire 4 lasers and then stop firing and shooting. So let's try it out. So broadcast spawn boss, here's the boss. And then the boss, okay, fires lasers and shoots. That was the first laser. And then second laser, third laser, and fourth laser. All right. And then, as you can see, the boss stops shooting and stops firing the lasers, and can boss shoot is no. All right, cool. So let's see it again. Here's the boss. And then here are the lasers and spikes. All right. And I think the lasers fire a bit too frequently. So I think I'm going to go into the boss laser sprite. And then inside of this show and fire block, I'm going to change this wait 0.5 seconds to maybe something like 0.8 seconds. And this way there's a bit more delay before the lasers fire. And I think they fire still a bit too often. So at the end over here, I'm going to add a hide. And also a wait, let's say 2 seconds. And this way there is a 2-second delay before the laser fires again. So let's try it out again. If we click spawn boss, then here's the boss. Alright. And then here's the lasers. And as you can see, they hide for 2 seconds before firing again. Alright, cool. So, alright, this is the third laser. Let's wait until the boss fires all 4 lasers. So fourth laser. And then everything should stop. Alright, cool. And now the boss is going to do its second attack. So for the second boss attack, I'm going to go inside of my enemy boss sprite. And then I'm going to make it receive the boss attack 2. And for the second attack, I'm still going to make the enemy boss plane move from left to right. So I'm going to keep this right here. However, I also want the boss to sometimes swoop down and then come back up. So to do that, I'm going to drag a wait 1 seconds block, and I'm just going to make the boss wait like 4 seconds before it starts swooping down. And I'll make the boss maybe swoop like repeat 6 times or something like that. And for the actual swooping, I'm going to grab a broadcast block, and I'm going to create a new message and call this something like boss swoop down. Alright. And then I'll drag this inside of the repeat 6. And then after that, I'm just going to grab like a wait 2 seconds. And now I'm going to drag a when I receive and then boss swoop down. Then I want the boss to sort of stay in its position and then suddenly go down and then slowly come back up. So to do that, I'm going to go to control and then drag a wait 1 seconds block. So before the boss is going to go down, it's going to wait 1 second to give the player a bit of time to react. And then I'm going to go to motion and then drag a glide 1 seconds to block. And I'm going to make the boss stay in the same X position, so it's only going to go down. So I'm going to drag the X position block and then drag it inside of the X. And for the Y position, I'm going to make the boss go down maybe somewhere over here. Alright, so that's about Y negative 100. So I'm going to type in negative 100 for the Y. And I think I'm going to make the boss glide like 0.3 seconds down to this position. So it's going to go down pretty quickly. And then after that, I want the boss to sort of like wait 1 second in this position and then slowly glide back up. So I'm going to go to motion, drag another glide 1 seconds to block, and then drag the X position into the X. And then for the Y position, I'm going to put the original position of the enemy boss. So I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I think an easy way to do this is to go to the variables and then create a new variable. And then I'm going to call this something like boss Y position before swooping. Alright, and then since only the boss sprite needs this, I'm just going to select for this sprite only. And then I'm going to set the boss Y position before swooping to the boss Y position. So go to motion and then Y position. So I'm going to set this variable right before it begins going down. So this way we know its original Y position. And then once the boss is going back up to its original Y position, we can just go to variables and then make the boss glide to the boss Y position before swooping. Alright, and I'm going to also make the boss sort of glide up a bit slower, so maybe glide like 1.5 seconds, and that should be fine. So now if we click this boss swoop down message, then as you can see, the boss waits 1 second, and then goes down, and then slowly goes back up. So it's sort of something like this. Alright. And let's see. Oh yeah, since the enemy boss is going to be moving from side to side for the second attack, we want to make sure that the enemy boss does not change its X position while swooping. So inside of this when I receive boss swoop down, I'm going to create another new variable, and then I'm just going to call this is swooping. Alright, and then we can select for this sprite only because it's only for the boss sprite. And then when the enemy boss is about to swoop down, let's set the is swooping to yes. And then once the boss is done swooping down and then goes back up, let's set is swooping to no. Alright, and then inside of the movement over here, let's go to control and then check if the boss is not swooping. So if is swooping is equal to no, then we want the boss to move left and right. So we can just duplicate this, alright, take out the change x by -1, and then drag this back inside. Alright, so now the boss is not going to move from left to right when it's going down and coming back up. Oh yeah, one thing I didn't do is that I have to actually replace this broadcast with a broadcast and wait. So let's go to events, and then drag a broadcast boss swoop down and wait. And this way, this script waits until the boss finishes doing the entire swoop down message, which is this, and then the script continues. So now if we click this boss attack 1 and also this boss attack 2, then this is pretty much the second attack of the boss. So it waits, alright, swoops down, and then comes back up, and then it keeps moving, and then waits, swoops down, comes back up, and then continues moving, like that. Alright, cool. So I think for when the boss goes down, I'm going to go to operators, and then drag a pick random block, and I'm just going to make the boss wait pick random 1 to 4 seconds every time before going down, just to make it a bit more interesting. So yeah, and now we have the boss animation down, but now we also want to spawn the enemy planes. So inside of the same enemy boss sprite, I'm going to go to events and then drag a when I receive boss attack 2. Then I'm just going to duplicate this wait pick random block, and I'll just wait maybe pick random like 0.3 and 1.2 seconds. And then I am going to forever and then create clones of the two enemy planes. So the first one is enemy planes. Alright, so create clone of enemy planes. And then I'm going to duplicate the wait seconds block again. So right after it creates clones of the enemy planes, I'm going to wait, let's just say pick random 2.5 to like 4 seconds. Alright, and for the second enemy planes, I'm just going to duplicate this block, and then I'm going to create clone of enemy planes 2, and then wait something like maybe 4 to 5 seconds. So this one's going to be a bit slower. And oh yeah, one thing is that when the enemy boss creates clones of enemy planes 2, it only creates clones of one of these planes. And if you remember, these green planes spawn in groups of 5. So we want the boss to actually spawn 5 of those planes at a time. So inside of the enemy planes 2, or the green planes, I am going to go to events, and then drag a broadcast and wait block, and then I'm going to create a new message, and I'll call this like spawn enemy 2 group. So this spawns the group of 5 planes. Alright. And then I'm going to take out this part, which is the set clone starting x and repeat 5. And I'm going to drag this broadcast spawn enemy 2 group and wait block after the wait 1.5 to 2 seconds. And then lastly, I'm going to drag a when and receive spawn enemy 2 group. Then it's going to do the set clone X and then spawning of the clones. And by the way, make sure it's a broadcast and wait block, not just broadcast. But anyways, now we can go back to the enemy boss sprite. And then instead of creating clones of enemy planes 2, I want to actually broadcast, spawn enemy 2 group, and wait. So now that should be fine. Let me first try the enemy plane spawning. So if I click these 2 messages, then as you can see, the enemy planes spawn like normal. Alright, so now I'm going to try the entire enemy boss 2 attack. So I'm going to first click this broadcast spawn boss, and then the boss should do its first attack. So it fires lasers. Alright. And oh yeah, by the way, the boss is not moving and we have to fix that. So right after the boss spawns, we actually want to go to variables and then set the is swooping to no. Because I think the is swooping was set to yes, and that's why the boss was not moving from left to right. But now that should be fine. So if we click broadcast spawn boss, then it should appear. And then, alright, cool, move left to right while shooting lasers and firing spikes. And after it fires 4 lasers, then it should switch to the second part of the boss attack. So this is the third one, and then one more. Alright, cool. So now, as you can see, lasers stop firing, bullets stop shooting, and then the boss now spawns the enemy planes, and then occasionally swoops down, like so. Alright, cool. So this is going to be the second boss attack, with the boss going down, and the enemy planes. Alright. And now, after the boss does its second attack, we want it to switch back to its first attack. So inside of the part where we repeat the boss swoop down message, after the boss swoops down 6 times, I am going to go to events, or actually control, sorry, and then stop other scripts in sprite. So this stops all of the enemy plane spawning and movement. And then I'm going to go to events and broadcast the boss attack 1. Now if we try it out, so spawn boss, then the boss should first do its first attack. Alright, so lasers and spikes. So it should shoot the lasers 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright. And now it should transition to its second boss attack. Okay, so here are the planes spawned. And then the boss swoops down and then comes back up. And then it should do that 6 times. So it's done it twice already. We need it to do 4 more times. Okay, 3 times. Alright, 2 more times. 1 more time. And alright, cool. So that was the last one. And now the boss should transition to the first attack. Alright, cool. So now it fires the lasers and shoots out the bullets again. Alright, cool. So I think this should loop. So after it fires its 4 lasers, it should switch back to the second boss attack. Let's see. Alright, this should be the last laser. And alright, cool. And it should repeat forever. So now we have completed the entire enemy boss plane and the boss fight. So of course, now we have to actually include the boss in the game. And I think the easiest way to do that would just be adding a wait. And then I'm just going to say like wait 25 seconds. And then broadcast the spawn boss. And also, we want to hide the boss when the flag is clicked. And one more thing is that when the boss actually spawns, we want the enemy planes that were spawning before to stop spawning. So we have to create a new variable, and then I'm just going to call this boss spawned. Alright, click OK. And then I'm going to set boss spawned to no when the flag is clicked. And then once the spawn boss message is broadcast, then I'm going to set boss spawned to yes. And then inside of the enemy planes, we want the planes to only spawn if boss spawned is equal to no. So operators equals, and then variables. If boss spawned equals to no, then it creates clones of itself. Let's do the same thing for the other enemy plane. So if boss spawned is equal to no. Alright. And also one last thing is that inside of the player plane sprite, we have to make sure that it can detect touching the enemy boss or the enemy lasers or enemy spikes. So let's go to operators and then drag an OR operator. And then we want to go to sensing and then detect if touching. Let's first say the enemy boss. Alright. And then let's right click, duplicate this. And let's also check if it's touching the boss spike. And then duplicate one more time. Drag this in here. Oops. Drag it in here. Alright. Or if touching enemy lasers. Alright, so now the player should be able to take damage from the enemy boss or the spikes or the lasers. So now let's drag this inside of the entire player detection. So I'm just going to do this. Alright. And I'm going to drag this entire thing inside of the check. Alright, cool. So I managed to put that on there. And now the player should be able to take damage from everything. And now let's try it out. So we have the normal game. And then after around 25 seconds, the boss should show up. So let's first upgrade our plane while we're at it. Okay. So we have to wait a few more seconds before the boss appears. And when the boss appears, all of these planes should stop spawning. Alright, cool. Here's the boss. All of the other planes stop spawning. And here are the lasers and spikes. Oops, okay. I touched the spike, so I'm going to try it again. Here are the planes. I'm going to try to dodge all of these. And then we have to wait for the enemy boss plane to appear. So, oh yeah, by the way, we can't damage the boss yet, but I will be doing that in the next video. So right now the boss is indestructible. Alright, here's the boss. Okay, here's lasers and bullets. Alright. And alright, so it seems like the player lost for no reason. I don't think I touched any of the spikes, so let's see. Alright, so I think the player plane is taking damage from the boss lasers when it's not supposed to because of a laser problem. However, for right now, I'm just going to make the player unable to take damage and try the game out again. So, as you can see, here is our normal game. And then the boss plane should again spawn after around 25 seconds. So let's collect all of the power-ups. Alright. And then after a few more seconds, the boss should appear. Alright, here's the boss. And then it's going to do its first attack. So the lasers and the spikes. Alright. And then after it shoots the lasers 4 times, it should switch to the second attack. So one more time. Alright. And now second attack, so spikes stop shooting out, and then the planes are spawned while the boss occasionally swoops down and then comes back up. Alright. So it's going to do this 6 times total, and then it's going to switch back to the first attack. Alright, so 2 more times. 1 more time. And now it should switch to the first attack. Alright, first attack. And yeah, it should loop like that forever. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe too if you haven't already. In the next tutorial, I will finish up the boss battle and fix the laser problem, and add a health bar to the enemy boss. By the way, this project is on my Scratch profile, so check it out. Link is in the description below. Anyways, that's it for this video. See ya!